Welcome to this product demonstration. I'm Pete Fowler, the UK MD. The purpose of this video is to demonstrate how our technology can support hybrid meetings. So let's get started and show you how Lumi AGM Mobile works. Now, one of the most important parts to this is to provide guidance to your remote shareholders about how to join the meeting through the notice of meeting. This is done in a very clear and concise way, and we would work with you and the registrar to do this. It would provide access as far as the credentials to join the meeting, and then provide guidance upon the navigation of the application, the voting, and then the Q&A. As we always do, we work with your registrar to obtain your data and the full shareholder register. That will then be uploaded to enable any of your shareholders to join the meeting as far as a remote attendee. As you will now see on screen, from a shareholder's perspective, we are now entering the meeting ID that is associated to your meeting. Upon entering that meeting ID is then the option to either enter your login credentials because you are a shareholder, or if you enable guest participation, they would then click I am a guest and enter some credentials. From this perspective, we are a shareholder. So now you will see a username being entered, which is typically the account number of the shareholder, and then a unique password that has been supplied to the shareholder from the registrar. At this moment in time, we have not created the meeting. You're just seeing some generic Lumi branding. But of course, the strength of this system is to brand it according to your branding guidelines. I would do this through the dashboard, and you'll see this live on screen right now from an admin perspective. I'll now upload the logo associated to the meeting, and I'll then continue to enter some information relating to the meeting. This information can be incredibly useful, not only ahead of the meeting, but during the meeting as well. It enables you to communicate to your shareholders at any given time during the meeting. Within this information screen can not only be information relating to the meeting, but it can also be URL links associated to maybe the annual report and accounts or a sustainability report of such nature. As you will see, I will then hit save and then publish that, and that is live and instant. Not only do we do that to the branding, but of course we can then apply some color theming to that particular meeting as well. And at this moment in time, I will then publish that to the shareholder platform. One of the key elements to a hybrid meeting is to enable your remote shareholders to listen to the meeting or even watch the meeting. We will work with your webcasters to obtain a URL that we can then implement into our system and then enable that for your shareholders to see. You'll now see that I've enabled that on the platform, and the shareholders can now see the meeting, watch the meeting, and also see some slides. I'm now going to take you through the voting element of the meeting. We can do this in two ways. One is a relatively traditional way of a single motion poll. The other, which is more common we're finding, is the multi-motion voting ability. This is all conducted through our core software, as explained before. Here we have the entire set of resolutions, and we can, at the correct moment in time, when the chairman declares the poll open, we will then declare that poll open for all resolutions to be voted upon. As I mentioned before, confidence and control is vital for you as a customer. And so here we can provide a screen for you to see as a company secretary or a chair to see the votes coming in live. This is a dynamically updating screen that adds to the proxy votes that have been already received. Now, what we have to be ready for at any given time, in some cases and in some markets, is that a poll may be introduced to the meeting. How do we conduct that? Through our core software, at that moment in time, through the chair's instruction, we will then pause the polling. We can then prepare this resolution and then send that to the shareholders to be voted upon. Here, the poll has been sent. This is a single motion poll. The shareholder will then cast their vote. We will collect all votes received from everybody, not only in the room, but of course remotely. We will stop the poll and then display the results. That enables the meeting to then quickly move on to the formal part of the business again. Now, most importantly, when we reopen that multi-motion poll, of course, some shareholders would have already cast their vote. We do not lose any data. They can continue where they were before and continue to either change their mind or continue to cast all of their votes. Now, the meeting will continue, and of course, through Q&A, people will be able to vote. I'm actually going to leave the poll open now, and now move on to the Q&A piece. Q&A is already enabled for the shareholders. We do have the control to turn that on or off at the given time. What I will always say about Q&A, and the most important point about Q&A, is that moderation is always on. Now you can turn that off if so confident, but typically we see that moderation is on, and that is an important element to this software. You'll now see on the dashboard, this is how we manage Q&A. At this moment in time, you're currently seeing the published messages, but we have different folders on this screen. When a shareholder enters a new question, you'll note that the Needs Review folder will move to 1. Here, as an admin, I then have the opportunity to read this question and then decide what to do with this. 1 is to publish this question just for the chair to see, and then the chair will of course address the meeting. Or we could publish this for all to see on the application. What I will stress at this moment in time is that this is just one admin dashboard view. You can have multiple admins viewing this and editing questions as they come in, and that is a good way to deal with volume when it comes to questions. The question is valid, and is it a question that I would like to then submit and send to the chair? Here we can provide a monitor to the chair and the company secretary to see that question, and that question can then be addressed. Once the question is addressed, you then have the opportunity to send that question to all shareholders for all shareholders to see. That is a great way of showing all questions received and showing ultimate transparency to your shareholders about the questions that have been received to date. I will then publish that question. As you will now see, from a shareholder's perspective, the question is then posted. More questions can continue to come in during the Q&A phase, and as you see as well, voting remains open. I note that I have another question, and I can then either send that to the chair, or I can then publish that straight to the chair as well. I do have the opportunity to edit this question as well from an admin perspective, which will help provide guidance potentially to your chair or your company secretary about how to address this question. Here you will see me updating the question, and then that will then be reflected on the chair's screen. We will then publish that question for all shareholders to see. At any moment in time, we can remove that question from that shareholder's view and send that to an archive hidden folder. Everything received through the application is then captured through our reports, and that is available to you, of course, instantly after the meeting. As we draw to a natural conclusion of the meeting, after we have received all questions from both remote attendees and attendees in the room, we can then close the meeting. Firstly, we must close, of course, the voting. As you will see on screen, I now close that vote, and we have the results available instantly for the audience to display live to the audience and the remote attendees. But of course, when it comes to the reporting, that is now available to you to then release to your stock exchange. Once the meeting concludes, we now have the opportunity to send a message to your shareholders, remote shareholders, to thank them for their attendance. We will then do so and then close the application at the given time to stop anybody then registering to the meeting, of course, once the meeting has concluded. It goes without saying that everything is available to you in an archive format after the meeting. That is all of the questions received, that is all of the votes received, and of course the webcast that was conducted. As with every meeting we run with the registrars, we then provide the registrars an end of meeting archive that contains every single report available within the core software. That concludes this demonstration, and thank you very much for watching. I hope that provides you a valuable insight into how to implement hybrid meeting technology to your AGM. If you require any further information, then please do contact us and we'd be delighted to speak to you. Thank you.